My name is John Connor. They tried to murder me before I was born. When I was 13, they tried again.
John Connor is leader of the worldwide resistance and last best hope of humankind.
But we stopped Judgment Day.
You only postponed it. Judgment Day is inevitable.
This is John Connor. Crystal Peak.
Who's in charge there?
I am.
And welcome back. Quick question, guys. What do you get if you take two horny teenagers that all they've done is watch Terminator 2 and they want to make a Terminator 3? You get Terminator 3. Guys, how's it going?
Oh, my Lord.
Because that's exactly how I feel. Well, that's exactly how I feel this film is. It's like an average film with boobs.
With boobs?
Well, yeah,
Where's
her
the
boobs. Her
boobs?
boobs inflate. Her boobs inflate. What the hell?
They do.
Her boobs inflate. Her boobs inflate. And it's
So
just a copy of...
that's all you
it's
take
just-
from this film, is it? That
Yeah,
her
it's just a
boobs
copy
inflate?
of... Yeah, boobs inflate. It's a copy of Terminator 2, pretty much, with some very good action scenes. And arguably a more interesting ending, maybe not, I guess.
My God, I can...
Wow.
The energy is lacking so much from you. Honestly, James, I'm disappointed.
I'm so sorry. And welcome back. We are going to watch Terminator 3, where we have a big-titted bitch trying to kill John Connor. There you
Oh,
go.
my Lord. He's pumping those hate brakes. Come on.
He's pumping. Okay, well, look, let's be honest. This is where, me personally, I think this is where the franchise started going wrong, albeit this is not the worst film in the Terminator franchise. I'd argue you could make a case it's been the third or fourth best film in the Terminator franchise, but yeah.
God, your voice says different. The
Well-
tone in your voice says different. You could say, and welcome back to Rise of the Machines, a good sterling effort from John Mostow in the Terminator franchise, who was under pressure from James Cameron, but I think he did deliver from what he had. You could say that.
Well, yes, yeah.
Yeah, but
He
that's
delivered
pushing
something.
the envelope there, Stu. I'm sorry.
I push it all the way, honestly.
You
I push
do?
it all the way.
Yeah,
But
when you
delivered.
push it.
For those who aren't lucky enough to have seen this really, really interesting film and this fast-moving film, it does have, honestly, Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator. It does have Nick Stahl as John Connor, Christina Loken as the Terminatrix, and Claire Danes as Kate Brewster. And for token gesture, he doesn't really do a lot. Got Robert Brewster by David Andrews, and really the rest of the cast, apart from Peter Silverman, who's in it for Christ knows why reason. It's the cast is really rather uninteresting. Everyone else, to be honest. So
It's an interesting cast, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's funny that Nick Stahl had to audition 5 times for this part before he got.
I think they said that. It's just like one of those stories, isn't it, where people like to make out that things were really exciting and stuff. I'm really surprised. I mean, was this the most expensive Terminator film out of all of them? I haven't seen the rest of the films, to be honest, because I did lose interest.
I'll be honest, I don't know how much this cost.
This cost
far too
200
much.
million.
What?
Wow.
Yes, 200
29
million.
of those millions, though, was for Arnie's fee.
Well, do you know, it's strange you say that, because that is so close to the truth that because the studios long awaited a sequel, and Schwarzenegger refused to do it, and it was only James Cameron who said do it. He goes, just do it for the shit of it and see what money you'll get from it. And really, that's what he did. But I mean, on the same note, the Schwarzenegger did work out for 6 months to get himself in the same condition as he was in Terminator 2.
Yeah.
And he is absolutely ripped. And Edward Furlong was originally supposed to reprise his role of John Connor. However, in 2001, he dropped out due to substance abuse, which is a great shame. We'd never like to see anyone get substance abuse, but he was fucking irritating from the first one. So
I
really
wondered
see
where
that's
you were going to go then, Stu. I really wondered where you were going to go there.
I
Expressing
know.
your hate
You know me.
of
Let's
that
just
guy.
cut down to the chase. And Schwarzenegger's fee for the role was 29 million. So there you go.
It's
That's how much he
ridiculous
got.
money, isn't it?
It's
Absolutely ridiculous money.
Yeah, completely insane. But I mean, thankfully, I think what held it together was Stan Winston, special effects guy from Terminator 1 and 2, was involved. And I think having that kind of continuity in the special effects, which hold these kind of films together, I think probably he should have got more money than Arnold Schwarzenegger did.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, the special effects are still good in this film. You can't deny that. It's just, I think people such as James and myself to a degree, the purists of the Terminator franchise, just have issue with this film and probably will always have issue with this film. But the special effects are still very good.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think you both really, really. I mean, I did as well. But these are your films. You really like these films, don't you?
Oh, massively so. Hugely. Terminator and Terminator 2. You know, I remember Terminator 2. I watched it over and over again. I loved that film. It was so good. And then when they brought out the third, I was very excited to see how they were going to be able to bring it into the franchise. And I was left with a bitter taste in my mouth. I have to be honest.
I mean, I think with these kind of films, when you do get the films that are so popular, I always think it does take a very brave man, regardless of the money, a brave man to try and continue such a huge franchise.
Yeah, to take it on, but it's also greedy. It didn't need to happen, in my opinion, because it's like many of these things. And I don't know if you agree, James, because you've gone quiet.
Yeah, no, mate. I the only reason why I'm going quiet because you're talking so much sense. Yeah, if I'm honest. So.
But it's just, well, thank you. But you know, it's just frustrating. I've said it before that Hollywood gets greedy. They see something that's an amazing story that's been done really well, and it was done fantastically in the first two, and they just milk the shit out of it until no one is interested anymore. And this is the film that started that with the Terminator franchise.
Yeah, I think you can make a good case for this, and probably the Alien franchise as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they're almost parallel, I think, in terms of studios milking them almost for all their worth and not getting as much back as they intended as time goes on, in terms of like revenue from the public.
What's interesting is that you love, and I know from doing previous ones, James, you love the Alien films, don't you? That you're very passionate about them.
The first two, I love them.
Yeah, but I've not seen some of the later Alien films because, again, like this, just through like the press and social media and that, you realise it just went right off track and it was absolutely terrible. So it must be very disappointing for you that these films have just, after this film especially more so, and the Alien films have ended up so shit that the reputation has been tarnished so badly. Yeah,
it is. It's really, really sad. I mean, it's like akin to you going on like your first date as a 17, 18-year-old virgin, and the girl kisses you and you think this is it, and then she kicks you in the dick. That's exactly how I feel, basically, about most of the Alien Terminator films. Like, there's the potential there, and then you just get winded, you know?
Is that personal experience? You want to share something?
No. When it comes to getting kicked in the dick, I'm into it. I'm into that normally. But yeah, so, I like a good heel on my bollock. But moving on. I'm sorry, guys. No, but it feels you like. I feel like almost like not physically, but mentally winded. You know, like it's that same feeling as when you do like get one in the balls or get proper winded.
The thing is, you're so invested in something, aren't you?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean, Neil.
You enjoy it so much, and then someone comes along, and like you say, basically kicks you in the nuts or rips your heart out. Yeah. You know, Aliens, fantastic. Alien 3, it started to sort of go that way, but it was still an enjoyable experience. And then the fourth one happened.
Oh god, yeah, because you say Alien 3, and you can almost parallel it with Terminator 3 in terms of they're both watchable films. They're both not terrible films. They're both films you can watch again at some point, but they're not as good as the other two, and it's almost, and they're the beginning of when the franchise started going wrong as well. I feel, if that makes any sense, you know?
Yeah, completely agree. I think Stu's right in his thing, and you are as well. It's the beginning and the end, and the greed takes over, and then you get Prometheus, and then the other one that's after that, and it's just like, come on, put it to bed. We don't need this anymore. And then you cross two amazing franchises, Aliens and Predator, and how you can fuck something up that badly and be able to make a second one just goes beyond belief. I remember walking out of the cinema watching Aliens versus Predator and being physically angry with how fucking terrible it was.
Well, it is. And what's annoying is there's so much either comics or books out there about the Alien v Predator series, that all they had to do was follow a freaking book or one of them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It wasn't hard to get wrong. It writes itself, just like the new Terminator film could have done. They messed it up. It's so crazy.
Oh dear. Okay, shall I give for those who don't know, I'll give the story and I'll make it sound like a really exciting film.
Go on, then,
and I think you two will be like, wow, I can't wait to talk about this. This is so good. Or it could just be a case of, this isn't the film that I watched.
Okay. Let's see.
When you listen to this, there will be dramatic music playing in the background. So if you imagine it, cue dramatic music now.
I'm getting aroused already.
More than 10 years after Terminator 2, John Connor now exists only as a drifter, living off the grid. No more Terminators can track him down in the future. Unfortunately, Skynet does, and another one is sent back, a Terminator called the TX. Even more powerful and advanced than the dreaded T-1000. However, another CMS-101 Terminator is also sent back to protect him. This is boring. Let's just get on with the actual review of the film.
Well, that lasted long, didn't it?
I know, that's pretty much the same as Terminator 2.
I was reading Terminator 2. I should have said
Connor.
that. Yeah.
I know, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you've got the wrong synopsis.
Ridiculous, isn't it?
It's like reading the Indiana Jones films. You could read any synopsis and it'd still be the same.
Exactly the fucking same.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, the script writer just pressed Control-C and Control-V, didn't he? Really.
That's all they need to do.
And then change a couple of words. It's like copying someone's homework. I change it enough to make sure they don't notice.
Yeah. Everything else, sorry, it doesn't make a difference. So I think it's going to be hard to put a positive spin on this film. Not from my point of view, for you guys, but there's a lot of it that is good, and I actually did quite enjoy it. But I mean, I don't understand kind of how it marries up with like the films in the future. And like the films that we've already seen. I mean, John talks about that the war is over and that he's staying off the grid. Yeah. And I don't understand, if he's staying off the grid, why he's towing it on a motorbike down a dark road with no reason whatsoever. If he wants to stay off the grid, then you just blend in. You don't hang around the area where you grew up, because that's clearly where he is.
So, well, there you go.
It's like he's not allowed to cross the road. He's going to run away from home, but he's only allowed on the same side.
That's the thing. Sarah Connor taught him how to fight, but he's not allowed to cross the road. Don't go too far. Don't go too far, John. You know, you found the first plot hole, haven't you? Right there.
It's very strange. Very strange. Yeah. When they showed the future of like the Resistance, was that I didn't know whether it was. I mean, was that John Connor that Nick Stahl they showed with makeup on?
Yes.
It was.
They aged Nick Stahl terribly.
They did.
And his acting was almost the same as Lethal Weapon acting from Patsy Kensit.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But when they kind of do show the future, because all of these show the future at some point, and it's always the same. It's like the Terminators storming the beach. I really enjoyed that, seeing all of those Terminators. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was done really well. The special effects were good.
Yeah.
I mean, the spaceships were a little bit, took you out of it, but the close-up on that Terminator, I've got no issues, and I'm pleased they're sticking to what I think is the basics in this. because I think it's so important. If they started to put original ideas in, which you can get away with when you're doing like new Terminators, which they did with the TX, but I think they need to be careful, and they're sticking to this plan. And I think it's so noticeable when they go off the plan with some original ideas later on, which I didn't like, such as remote control cars. And it's a bit, it's a bit strange. But
I know that was. Oh no, you're right. I just done a sick.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not being funny.
Go on, Jay.
Sorry.
No, you were getting excited.
I was going to say.
You were about to say a massive positive. I know you was.
I wasn't. I was half expecting fucking Optimus Prime at the end of that chase scene at some point. You know what I mean? Jesus Christ. Well, there we go.
What do you think of the re-entry of both the Terminators? That's something that they have kind of adapted and changed a lot. What was your thoughts of that, guys?
It's very much the same, but just graphically more enhanced, wasn't it? In the sense of they've just sort of pushed the envelope a little bit. The curve in the Earth is still the same. The cutting of things such as the windows and stuff was similar. So I thought they kept to it. But they just
it was like an upgrade, wasn't it? It was like a like a PS3 versus a PS4 version, basically. Yeah.
I have to say, and this isn't to do with this film in particular, and it was mentioned last time, and I don't know how else they can do it, but I am getting bored of them landing somewhere and then they take their clothes and stuff like that. And it's just the first kind of 20 minutes is a Terminator film.
Yeah.
She lands, he lands, and stuff like that. I mean, she is, I think, the TX, what's her name again?
Christina Loken.
Yeah, Christina Loken. I think for what she has to do, I think she does it really well. And bearing in mind most of its facial expressions, I think it's really good. But what instantly laugh out loud moment, and as I always say to my son, which makes him really cringe, that I'm lolling. He hates it when I say that. He absolutely hates it, and I know that, so I say it so much.
I'm lolling.
You're going to make me lol. He just can't stand it. It's so good. I found his kryptonite, and now I just say it all the time.
Aren't you?
I am bastard dad.
I'm using that, Stu. That's good.
But when she's on the phone and she does that internet noise, like, what the hell's that about? When is that a good idea? Who kind of come up with that idea and had the bollocks to come out loud and go, well, you can do. She could be a modem.
She could be a modem. To be fair, that's the kind of white noise that comes out. So some people's mouth. We want to ignore them, isn't it? So I was quite happy with that.
Who are you talking about in particular?
No one.
Go make that confession. Go on.
No.
Without me having to do a dash film or anything. Who are you talking about?
No one. No one. And I will receive a kick to the dick if this continues, probably.
I think so.
No.
I really think you do like it. You weren't joking about that, were you?
No, I wasn't. No. Every Saturday.
He loves it.
Oh, that's just awful. That's just terrible. But she does get pulled over by the police, and she likes his gun. Does she kill that police officer?
Yes.
We don't see it, do we?
But she does.
We don't. We don't see her kill the woman in the car she actually takes the clothes from. And do you think it would have been good if she would have changed into a police officer or not? Do you think it would have been? Because I have issues with regards to the form she takes a lot of the time.
I think if she did turn into a police officer, you would be looking at the exact carbon copy of Terminator 2, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but alternatively, I see what Stu means, because she does kind of, her fashion sense, the way she chooses to look, a lot of the time, not all the time, she does stand out like a sore thumb. And that was what was good about the T1000. As a police officer, the way he did it and everything, he didn't really stand out with like driving the police car. He blended in a lot better than this Terminator did.
Oh no, definitely. I agree with it completely. But I think.
But yeah, it would have been.
There would have been even more outrage about this film if she was then a copper as well, because it's just like, well, what fucking hell? We might as well just re-release the second one, with a woman instead of a bloke. It just.
Yeah, what do you think about the decision to have a female Terminator? Did you have any thoughts on that at all?
I've got no issue with it or anything, really. Like you said, I think she was fairly good at the role. tried to play it more like Arnie from the first one, very sort of hardly saying anything at all and facial expressions. But no, I thought it was quite good.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with it, to be honest.
See, I think it would have been nice, and this is my opinion, you might both think, and just cough your tea or coffee out if you're drinking, that in this one, if the bad Terminator, the TX, would have had a speaking role, I would have liked to have seen that of something different, because I'm bored of the non-speaking role and just the facial expressions. I'd have liked to have seen a bit more of an input as something different. If they're going to bring the whole thing back, put other twists on it. I don't know what you think of that, or do you think that would have been a bit too much?
No, actually, I think that would have been really original, to the point where the TX, had you not seen her actually coming after the intro, she could have acted so human you wouldn't have been able to tell until she revealed herself, kind of thing.
That's it. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Let's make a film.
That'd have been really good. That'd have been really good.
See, I'm getting you excited. This is what I want. And they do drop the foreshadow of Skynet of there is a virus.
Yes,
and at the time, that meant nothing to me or whatsoever, to be honest, because I didn't really understand it. And we know that the general is Brewster's dad at the base.
Claire Danes.
Claire Danes. And then we get one bit, Schwarzenegger's re-entry, or where he appears, not really a re-entry, is terrible. Some of the decision-making there is absolutely awful. When he goes into that bar and it's a male stripper, they use the stereotype that he's a gay stripper, and talk to the hand joke is these kind of decisions. I don't know what level they're made at, but they're terrible decisions to make, and they really take you out of the film.
Whoa, bitch! Wait your turn!
You're close.
Talk to the hand.
Now.
Well, they try to make it more humorous for some unknown reason whatsoever. It's about killer fucking robots and a computer system that takes over the world and everything. Why would you? You don't need it. You don't need it. There's no reason for it. It's bollocks. It's not funny. I can't imagine anyone laughed. And it's exactly the same as when he puts on a pair of shitty sunglasses.
Oh my god, yeah.
And then throws them on the floor. It's like, he's a fucking who cares? He wouldn't give a fuck what glasses he's wearing.
Well, as we said in Terminator 2, the only reason in T1 that he put the sunglasses on was to hide the injury to his eye.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Not winning any points thus far, Stu.
No, I completely agree. And I've got to be honest, I mean, I can't kind of polish a shit and make it into a diamond. You know what I mean? It's you can kind of only do so much. But, I mean, and that kind of theme sadly does carry on. I mean, John Connor goes to a vet's because obviously he's come off his motorbike. And in between that, you do get a scene where you get a TX go to a drive-through. And I didn't really know at the time why she was doing that, but it turns out that what she's doing is, if she can't find John Connor, that she's taken out other members, other generals of the future resistance, which is touched upon very loosely, but I just... it doesn't work for me. I don't see why these people will be so important, because you realise later on it's almost as if John Connor's been written off as never going to be found. So I'm going to take the generals out. It just, I don't know.
It was the twist, wasn't it, of the sense of they tried taking him out in Terminator 2 and failed, so they're now sending him another one back somehow to take out everyone, that's all of his generals. And it's only by chance that she stumbles across John.
It is, and you can get that expression on her face. I like the home invasion side where she does go to the kid's house, and you do get the young kid getting killed, which I like that.
Elizabeth and William Anderson?
I'm Bill. My sister's upstairs. Is there something wrong? Oh!
Because it does kind of echo back to the first one, where it's quite brutal, where the thought of someone turning up on your door and just executing you is savage. I do like that, and that works well, but I don't know. I just thought it was a bit of a kind of a lame attempt at executing it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I can't disagree with anything you just said, to be honest.
Well, it won't carry on like that, folks. I can tell
No.
you that for nothing.
No, it won't. You're right.
So, conveniently, he does kind of overdose on horse tranquilizers and everything else. He looks like he has a real good fun party whilst he's at the vets. And Claire Danes comes back, and one thing after another, it's just pulls out a paintball gun, and it's just a lot of nonsense, to be honest.
Yeah.
And she just thinks he's another junkie, and I don't blame her for thinking that, because he looks like a right old state. Honestly, he's sweating like a good one, and he's just off his nuts on pills, got the proper munchies, isn't he?
Like you said, he's come off a motorbike that he didn't need to come off of because he was riding like a twat. He's in his hometown and he decides to go to a local vet to take tranquilizers for his pain, and pretty much fucking ODs on him. And then is outwitted.
Just happens to be her.
Yeah,
what a small world it is.
It's crazy.
He's gone one big
Wasn't there
circle.
some nod that Danes was the ginger-haired girl in Terminator 2? Wasn't there? You know, the one that said that to John Connor when he goes away on his bike.
Oh, is it
Turns
really?
around.
Ah.
Well, some people
I don't know.
suggested that. I don't know how true that is, but
I think you might be giving the writers of this film a bit too much credit.
Well, they did say that she was like the first kiss in that cellar around his friend's house the day before it all went tits up. So, but I do think that they're trying to make points out that are utter bollocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but Connor finds himself locked up in a kennel, which is a bit unfortunate for him, and that's when they she's basically going to call the police and that he's a fucking freak. But thankfully, the really annoying lady who has brought the cat into the vet, who's suffering from moss balls, does get killed.
I'm so pleased that she dies. I know
it is
horrible,
good,
but she's
savage. And she thinks that the lady who has been executed, bringing her poor cat in, is in fact Claire Danes, that she's Kate Brewster. And it's only when she licks the finger, which is covered in the lady's blood, that she realizes it isn't. Obviously, she is capable now of tasting people's DNA, of recognizing them. I think that's quite a good idea. I quite like that. I think it's executed extremely badly. I don't know what your thoughts are. Do you think it's a good idea? Just get away with it, leave it?
Yeah, I mean, it's an idea, isn't it? It's an advanced model of Terminator. Clearly, she can read DNA and all this sort of lark and pretend to be can be a modem. But yeah, I mean,
can be a modem.
So
what you're saying is, when she's in your house, and you don't have Wi-Fi in every room, you can phone up Skynet and complain.
Basically,
what we're saying.
You can plug a wire into her ass and get internet everywhere.
We could take this conversation in so many directions now, couldn't we? Seriously. You've opened up a whole can of worms now saying that. Really. Talking about routers and stuff like that. Yep. Honestly. That's terrible.
Root her ass and have Wi-Fi everywhere. Anyway.
Wi-Fi everywhere.
Just out of interest, what rating was this? Was this a 12?
15.
This was 15. a 15?
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting, though, because I bet you it was a 15, but it wouldn't have surprised me if it was a 12 or 12.
It was a 12. I apologise.
And that's where they went wrong. They wanted to get the maximum audience because, as Neil said at the beginning of the podcast, greedy, and there we go.
Yeah. So that's where the comedy comes into it, and everything else like that. But I mean, like you say, Stu, it was poorly executed, as in the acting and stuff like that. And I think it happens quite a few times with the direction of how she's supposed to act when she tests DNA and all this sort of stuff. If she's a robot, you wouldn't have, or maybe I'm not giving it enough credit, but why would they have facial expressions when they found some information out? Surely they wouldn't have that type of thing.
That's it, and that's the strange thing about it. You either do it, explain it, and commit to it, or you don't. It's exactly the same when she finds the bit of blood and analyzes the DNA, and it's John Connor, and you get that look on her face, almost like she's orgasming with kind of surprise and pleasure, and it's not explained. And if they kind of went into that earlier, where there was some kind of scenario, but with regards to the blood, but being a 12 or whatever it is, you're limited to blood and it restricts you. And again, like many other films we've done before, that you can only do so much if you've only got a 12 rating. And I think these films should never be a 12. 15 at the very maximum. Make them an R. Make it really violent, really hardcore, and then you can open up the stories so much more. And sadly, I think this suffers. Was it possibly could have been a good film? I honestly think it could have been a very good film because
they could have improved on it. They could have improved on it in many ways, and I think you're right, and James is right. It's that whole, especially then, it was the era of let's get as wide an audience as we can. You know, I'm not being funny. Should children be watching films about killer machines from the future that murder children?
Well, maybe if they're naughty kids, I don't know, but.
But you know what I mean? Is that something that you should be aiming towards, or should you be aiming towards the market that is, you know, the people that enjoy ultraviolet, crazy, fucked up films?
Well, yeah, because the first one is an 18. So, yes. But I suppose you could look at it. I don't know. You could say that as it's an 18, kids around at this time shouldn't be able to go back and watch the first one, so they wouldn't know what it's about. Second one's a 15, so 10-year-olds shouldn't be able to watch that. I know they do. And so the third one will be lost. And if they stuck to those rules, I know they wouldn't make as much money, but you possibly, as a writer or producer or director, you get the credit for a good film rather than people going, oh my God, number 3 was absolutely terrible. So, I mean, the only good number 3 is at John Wick 3, and that is the only good number 3 around at the moment.
Yeah, but that's followed by from 2 very good films, though, isn't it? So, you know.
Well, one good film. I give you that.
You just have not got a clue. When John Connor does escape from the dog kennel, and Arnold Schwarzenegger does arrive to save the day, and when I don't know how much they restricted with regards to the writing under like the quotes and whether they've been kind of copyrighted or not, but there was not at one point where he said, "Come with me if you want to live," and things like that. And when Schwarzenegger walked through the smoke towards John Connor, I wanted more because they've obviously got that history together, and at one time the Terminator was the only father figure he actually had, and I think they lost, whether it's the writing, whether it's the acting ability, but I think they lost something, an opportunity there when he first saw the Terminator, you know?
They almost tried to recreate, but really poorly, that scene from Terminator 2, where Sarah Connor first sees the Terminator, but for whatever reason, it just didn't really go right at all, did it?
No, I think that Nick Stahl just isn't capable of doing what Linda Hamilton can, to be honest. I don't think he conveys emotions like she can. So,
he's not a bad actor, Nick Stahl, and I really like him in Sin City, and he plays the fucked up sort of son character in that so well, the yellow bastard. But in this film, I have to be honest, his acting's weak, and at no point is he believable, really, for me. So
no,
I agree.
And I mean, it's weird because everything I'm saying at the moment is quite negative. But I mean, as you say, you've got to be honest about this. That when they when they escape, you've got Kate and John obviously jump in a van. They're placed in there by the Terminator, and they do escape. And she gets into this massive truck. And when she gets into the truck, she kind of remote controls other vehicles and to chase Connor down in this truck. And as far as I was aware, that they can kind of mimic devices, but I don't understand how she can control these vehicles. It really was something that wasn't needed, and it didn't up the ante at all. She's following them in this massive truck. I don't know why they chose to do this. Maybe you guys thought it was a good thing to do, something original, more exciting, but it wasn't needed for me.
It was quite a good chase scene. I mean, what did you think about, because we haven't actually discussed the female Terminator other than the fact that she's female. What did you think of the mixture of T-1000 from the second one and Robot underneath?
They had it was really hard for them, isn't it? Where are you going to go from the T-1000? Because in hindsight, almost perfect from terms of, he's so good. Interestingly, if you look at the lore of Terminator, the reason why they couldn't use the T-1000 is because the T-1000 could function on its own, and Skynet didn't have as much control over it as they wanted, apparently.
Right. Okay. That was the reasoning behind it, was it?
Well, but I imagine they made that up after, if that makes any sense.
Do you know, I did not understand a fucking word you just said then.
The T-1000 is considered to be a loose cannon since they can't be reprogrammed.
Which one's that? Arnold Schwarzenegger's one?
No, the T-1000. Robert Patrick's T-1000.
Right.
They were considered by Skynet, albeit he was the first model. What's it called?
Prototype.
That's the one, thanks. Yeah. And they were seen to act independently from Skynet with their programming. That's why you didn't get another T-1000, because they were considered too risky, according to the Terminator law.
Right. Okay. That's interesting.
That's not explained in the film. Yeah.
No, it's not, because it does seem like, I know she's got new tricks up her sleeve, like you say, Stu, that she can control things, which is strange in itself. But yeah, it just seemed like a worse Terminator, other than the fact that she could form weapons to obviously try and kill people, such as flamethrowers and laser guns. But it was always explained before that you couldn't bring weapons through.
I know, that was a weird one.
So that was another sort of loophole that they somehow managed to get through, because surely if she's a weapon, she shouldn't be able to go through the time rift. So I was a bit confused by the whole concept of it, really.
I suppose, and they can alter the time rift, can't they? I suppose they can say it's advanced since then, and they can always bend it the way they want to do it. I mean, I personally didn't have a problem with her, as in the way she was as a Terminator, against like the Robert Patrick one. I thought they were both. I mean, Robert Patrick for me he just looks evil and he runs, and he's just got that style. That's something that mysterious about him that looks really sinister without him doing anything. And I think the TX loses that, doesn't have that to a certain point, but I think she is very good as a Terminator, and I still like the liquid metal, and I like the fact that she's got different weapons and that they can malfunction. The controlling of the other cars, I didn't think that was needed, because she's driving a fucking 50-ton truck after him, and they didn't really have any effect. Maybe it was to show how advanced she was, because the other Terminators couldn't do it, and that's what it.
Show the hand. That took you so cars, you'd understand, yeah. But it was what? It was the turn of the century, was it? 2003, wasn't it?
2000, yeah.
And although cars had microchip, there was no way that they have to be. We all knew, they have to be operated by a human being. There's no suspension of disbelief, like there potentially is now, where you've got these drones in cars, and that really took me out. That one thing she did was really, really annoying and really unrealistic. And as much as I can suspend my disbelief to a point to enjoy a film, that one took me right out when she did that.
It was a huge foreshadow as well for something that happens later on in the film.
Yeah, but that one makes sense. Because think about it, if she's a computer, so you could plug into a computer and reprogram it. So if she went to a building, she could control the building, control the lifts, control the aircon, control all the cameras, turn them off. That one I'd understand more than controlling cars. If that makes sense,
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I thought, because you can control computers, fair enough, but you can't control a car as in make it steer. It's not electronic. Yeah, it's a manual thing, the steering, and that's what kind of annoyed me. But I don't know. I mean, the chase they have is very good, and it's really, really exciting. Maybe it goes on a bit too long, but it is a really good chase. Seeing the destruction from this truck, I mean, it's great fun. And when they go through that building, and when you see the making of the putting explosions into it and blowing up each segment as the truck goes through it, it's then, like in all the other films, that I think you can really appreciate just the amount of work goes into like a 5-second scene, because the rest is obviously special effects, which still is very good and really exciting.
It's good, but you can see how it's been done just by watching the film, because things, it's when like the lines going through the road, or the arms go, it's instantly hitting a car and it explodes. You don't just hit a car and it explodes. Otherwise, every time someone had an accident, their car would just blow up.
Or unless you're filming an episode of the A-Team.
Yeah, which is, that's forgivable at the end of the
It
day.
is, yeah.
Because it's the A-Team. But,
It is.
As good as the special effects were, you could see what they'd done just by... It didn't impress me in the sense of it wasn't hidden.
But it's been done in this so many times, isn't it?
It has, and it's...
But this is like the James Bond kind of chase sequence at the start of the films. They have to do these kind of sequences, and they've done them in all the other films. But when you got like the truck flipping, for instance, The Dark Knight, they actually flipped a 10-ton truck, and actually it was a proper practical stunt rather than a special effects.
But that film is amazing.
Film second to none completely, and I think the special effects do suffer in this, but this scene goes on for too long with a lot of repetition, and you can only have so many cars blow up, apart from Beverly Hills Cop 1, that without it becoming really, really boring. And it's the same thing again. One car blowing up is exactly the same as the other car. But again, it's a kind of, it gets us to see some of the skills, and it gets us to see some of her limitations and his limitations as well. And I never understand why these people don't run after them after the chase, that she just carries on walking. She's clearly really fast. We've seen that in a scene in a couple of times, but they just carry on walking. It's just nonsense.
Yeah, it is. I suppose you're right from a practical standpoint of it's a Terminator. They do not stop. Blah blah blah. She wouldn't. But the film needs to slow down, doesn't it? It can't just be like this constantly. It would be too much.
And it's when they're in the car that Arnie actually does talk about her, and when he takes that kind of chip out of him, that his limitations, her limitations, and he refers to her as like a Terminator killer or anti-Terminator.
Yeah, it's Terminator killer, but because she ruins one of his power cells, doesn't she? So he has to take it out of his chest before he explodes.
The X is designed to terminate other cybernetic organisms.
So, she's an anti-Terminator. Terminator?
Yeah, which I think is pretty good, because I like to be told these things, and I'm glad that Arnie actually did explain the principles of where she's come from, and it does work. But then they kind of go on to when they're in the back of the truck, and he talks about. Oh, we actually do get Arnie before we do that when they stop at a petrol station, which another bit talking about take you out of the film when he says to the guy behind the counter at the petrol station, "Get in there." He says, "Talk to the hand."
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Why does he say that? Oh,
talk to the hand.
Oh.
And he takes the sunglasses off the fucking stand as well, doesn't he? And it's just piss off. He hasn't. Yeah.
I don't get this. I don't get it. It's just, it always baffles me, some of these decisions, and even afterwards, you do an audience screening and you go by reactions of the audience, unless the audience was a complete bunch of dicks that they actually enjoyed that scene.
It's all his mates. That's what it was. It's like,
it's everyone.
Come watch this film. Oh yeah, you're brilliant. Yeah, we're going for champagne afterwards and cigars. It's brilliant.
Yeah, the power of sacking, so they all agreed it was good.
Yeah, basically.
But in the back of the van, you then get a change in John Connor in a way that he's really smug, and that's when he announces that he's like the leader of the future resistance, and that kind of makes him look a bit of a dick, if you ask me.
Yeah, there's not many moments he doesn't look like a bit of a dick, is there, really, in this film? But this is definitely one of those moments.
I'm glad she calls him out on it as well and says that makes you the big man as well. It would have been nice if she would have said that you had a really small dick. I remember now at college so you're trying to make up something.
Oh yeah, you're John Connor, pencil dick. That's right. Yeah.
That would have been really, really awesome. I would have fucking loved it if she would have put him down like that. And then the Terminator just turns around and you hear him laughing in the front.
It just opens up the slot. Pencil dick, and then closes it again.
That would be superb. I did like the scene, and I wish they would have shown more of it, when the boyfriend of Kate wakes up and you got the Terminatrix on the end of the bed. I bet for a split second in his mind he thought, game on, here we go. until she,
Threesome.
Until
her
she does
son-
The Exorcist. Yeah,
yeah, she twists all the way around. I'd still be
I know.
thinking, maybe
Contortionist.
Maybe.
it's lucky
Mate.
that she wasn't rubbing one out when she walked into that room. Honestly,
That
could
was
have
that was very unfortunate, wasn't it?
But it looks like she kills him and turns into like some kind of circular saw or chainsaw.
I know. It reminded me of the beginning of the scene from Hostel 2, doesn't it, when they saw his head off?
But if you're not going to show it, why do it?
Oh, exactly.
Yes,
You haven't
you're
seen her kill the other two, which she's blatantly killed. Why do that?
And then they do that trope thing, which annoys me. When the two police officers come to the door and he's standing there, obviously it's the TX mimicking him, and he has that slimy, stupid look on his face. That why did I need to do that? I'd rather them not do that.
Oh, mate.
And you even kind of put in your mind, well, maybe like he's not all dead and that is him. But when they do that stupid smile as if like, yes, it's me, audience, just so you know.
Yeah, that is annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm not being funny. If two coppers turned up at a address and they said, oh, you know, we've reported that, you know, your missus is gone and we're trying to find her, and he has that smirk on his face and just says, oh, we need to find her, in this really not giving a shit way, surely they'd be like, we need to come inside and have a look around.
I know.
Well, why would they take her with him, though?
Fight in that whole building.
Yeah. Why would they take him with her to look for her? That's what I don't understand, though. I'm pretty sure police don't do that, but
well, maybe they do in America. Maybe they believe everything everybody says and then
maybe
take people around with them. I can't imagine that is the case, but hey,
No.
according to Terminator 3, they do.
And Arnie takes John Connor and Kate to what you naturally think is the grave of his mother or the tomb of his mother. But it soon turns out that it's a cache of weapons. And a lot of the weapons that were used in the first one, you get that kind of grenade launcher thing that was in number 2, which I quite like that callback. But then the building, it is convenient, especially for some of the things that need to happen a bit later on. But then they're surrounded. Kate does escape, which is just stupid. If she before kind of shooting Arnie in the mouth and he spits the bullet out and says, don't do that again, which she's kind of not, I don't know, she's kind of not competent in weapons, and all of a sudden she is competent in weapons, like machine guns, automatic weapons, which it doesn't, I know they're kind of trying to say, which leads to a very strange scene later on, a bit incestual. I got from it a bit of an incest vibe, but there's no training for guns. There's no mention that she likes weapons, so why would she be so competent with them? I know they're trying to say she's a future, but it's just rubbish.
I think obviously her dad's a general, so maybe she's got some sort of military interest and training due to that. That's how I took it. No, it doesn't say that at all. But I guess in like many things in this film, they leave it to your imagination and to put 2 and 2 together and hope you come up with the right number.
Jeez, it's just terrible. And they're stuck in the building. And why? I don't know how I felt. I had mixed emotions because Dr. Silberman is outside talking to her. And if anyone who's listening to this remembers, Silberman is he's one of the only characters who's actually been in all 3, apart from Arnie, obviously, was the sarcastic, half-wit idiot doctor. Then he became the psychologist with Sarah, and now he's outside talking to her and saying that I've been in the same situation. And what I don't get is that he's seen Terminators twice, and he's seen what they can do in the police station, and he's seen what they can do in the hospital, but he's still in denial. And is it this just for comedy value, or is he actually supposed to be in denial of these things happening?
I don't know, because when he sees Arnie, he pegs it, doesn't he?
But I don't know, James. What did you think of this scene?
Well, first of all, I don't get why he was there. He's like, oh yeah, I'm here. I mean, that first felt really unrealistic. You know, I mean, I thought at least get them to a police station and then maybe turn up. It just felt so forced for what was once again a comedy moment. Yes, it was kind of funny, but it was so unrealistic and kind of like forced that once again this is something that did take you out of the film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
And it's weird because that kind of his speech that he gave her does take you out of the film. But I was instantly, I have to say, put back in it, and I really enjoyed it when the police officers get the heads up as to where they are, and then she puts her hand right through the guy's chest as he's driving the car. I thought that was back to the good old Terminator standards of violence, and it was great. I think it was needed at that time, or am I just on my own?
No, I thought that was really good. And the nonchalant face kind of like she had as if it was nothing personal, this is kind of just business kind of thing, you know, and just carried on, which is really good. No stupid facial expressions this time from her, which was good.
No, because there's a callback to Terminator 2, isn't there, when Arnie's with the casket walking around with his massive machine gun and he doesn't kill anyone again, and then gets, you know. But yeah, no, it was surprising the amount of gore for her putting her hand through the chest when you haven't seen anything like that thus far. You know, as an audience, if you've never seen Terminator before due to age rating, blah blah blah, to all of a sudden be, oh, I think she's killed that person, or she shot that person but you didn't see it, then all of a sudden you've got her bursting a hand through someone's chest. It's like, fucking hell, this has gone from 0 to 1,000,000.
Oh, 100%. And when you get the scene from the graveyard of when Kate is running through the graveyard, the police turn up and you get her boyfriend and she recognises him running towards him, why on earth would the Terminator make the decision to then change back into the female rather than stay with the boyfriend? I don't understand the reasons of why they decided to do that. Because it would have worked out so much better, in my opinion. And again, these are only my opinions, which don't really count for anything, but I'm not usually allowed to express them at home, so I do it on the podcast. But when he's walking through the graveyard, it would have been so good if they wouldn't have had that scene where punch through the chest, even though I enjoyed it, but you still thought that it was the boyfriend. And they're walking through the graveyard, Katie's running towards him, big smile on the face, and all of a sudden Arnie turns up and just shoots who you think the boyfriend is in the head. And you think, oh my God, what's he done? That's the boyfriend. Then it turns out to be the Terminator or the Terminatrix.
Well, that would have worked better, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it did, because that kind of happened. That exact scenario, albeit different people, happens later on when they go see the dad.
Does it?
Doesn't it? Doesn't Arnie shoot Catherine Brewster, but it's not Catherine Brewster. The dad thinks it says daughter or something like that, no?
Yeah, no, that's true, actually. Yeah.
Which then, when you flip to this, what the argument about, makes even less sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. Unless she's learned from her mistake and said, oh, I shouldn't show my hand so early.
Yeah, maybe,
you know,
maybe.
It's like Terminator
I'm a learning
poker.
Computer. Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Oh, I don't know. It's
No, I know.
It's true, though. It is completely true. Why would you do that? You wouldn't, would you? You'd kill your target. That's her target, is Catherine Brewster. Yeah, it just, you're completely right, Stu. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, and it's poor writing. But there you go.
And it's interesting when they're talking that, as you mentioned that, Neil, which is quite handy, because when they do actually manage to escape, and I like the scene, it's very James Bondish when they go under the truck and it takes her away. And then Arnie kind of does talk about the fact that it was Kate who sent, and I may have got this wrong, that Kate who sent Arnie back.
Yes,
and
it is.
Because John dies in the future.
By that Terminator.
But yeah, by that. And I wondered when he says that, because it's weird, it reminded me of Galaxy Quest so much that Sigourney Weaver was the only one who could ask the questions, and that John couldn't ask the questions. That's what it really reminded me of, because every time John asked
one job and I'm going to do it.
Because she had to then ask the same question. But it did make me chuckle. But why was, when he killed John Connor, did they capture him then and reprogram him? I don't quite understand what happened.
I'm thinking that's what they're alluding to. Yeah. So he's obviously come in because they've sent him in because of his emotional attachment, killed him, and they've captured him and then reprogrammed him, and then decided to send him back to the past to then protect Catherine and all the generals.
I know probably me being dumb, but it doesn't sound very clear. I don't
Well, it's
know.
not.
Did you guys get that straight? You probably did. Say if you did. I'm not going to be upset. Don't worry.
Yeah, I got it, Stu. Sorry.
I didn't fucking get it. I know that for a fact. James, you didn't get it either, did you?
No.
That's the least
helps.
convincing no.
It really was. It really was. It's like you saying this is 5 out of 5.
Yes. Yeah, well, yeah.
You never know. You might swing him yet. But,
Well, no, you know what? I didn't actually know this film was that bad, and I think with the help of Neil, it's become worse than I thought. If that makes any sense.
sorry.
I didn't know how that was. That's
Oh.
all right. I didn't know how that was possible. But you pointed way more holes than even I thought. But they're so obvious. I'm like, duh. I can't. I'm angry at the film for not realizing them before, kind of thing. So there we go.
But you know, even though what you say, oh, no, obviously, I wrote notes down, and even though I watched it again today before we did this, that I still quite enjoyed it. It wasn't a slog to watch it again.
No, I think I find it entertaining. It's a film I could watch every now and then. Not probably, like once every couple of years. I don't mind watching it. It makes me angry because of, as Neil said, what it could have been and what it is are two completely different things so far apart. But it does have some nice set pieces. It has some nice moments. It is watchable. But then when you're looking at it critically, there's so many plot holes. There's so many things wrong with it. Especially if you're a fan of the Terminator franchise, it kind of makes you really frustrated. But as a film, yeah, I do think it is fairly entertaining. Like it is like a popcorn Terminator film.
But who's keeping it entertaining though? Who do you think is managing to do that? Is that the story as a whole, or is that Arnie's presence on the screen, or even?
Well, I think it's everything.
TX?
I mean, Arnie's back. The TX does a okay job. She's all right. She's not bad. She's not going to win an Oscar, win any awards. She's not Robert Patrick or Arnie, but she's good enough. The characters are okay. We learn a few things about the Terminator. What goes on, going forward, we learn obviously eventually about Skynet, which I found quite interesting. In the end, I can't decide whether I was annoyed or happy about it, but I guess we'll get into that.
Yeah, because it's interesting that's when they learn that Robert Brewster is the target, because Arnie reels off a list of names of who the TX is after, and then Connor says that this guy is the father of the Robert Brewster, that's his name, the general.
Yeah.
And he says, well, yeah, of course, he's the only one who could stop Skynet, but he's not the only one who stops Skynet. He's the one who starts Skynet. So why is she trying to kill Robert Brewster if she went and killed him now, he wouldn't start Skynet and it wouldn't happen. So he is the one, by his own choice, under no duress, he decides to press that button and start Skynet on his own. I don't understand why he's a target. It doesn't make sense.
Well, to be fair, he doesn't want to start Skynet because he's concerned that it will be in control of everything. And it isn't until he's told by his superiors that he has to do it that he agrees to do it. So maybe the target is to get rid of him, and then there's no one in the way of it happening.
But surely she's come from the future and can see all of this happening.
Oh, I completely agree.
And knows that he would have started it, because history would have said in the records Robert Brewster was the one who pressed the button and started Skynet. So we'll leave him alone because he's going to fuck everything up on his own.
Oh,
so,
mate, you're completely right. But I'm just trying to find some bollocks that links it all together, because that's what it is. Because you're right. Get rid of the generals that are going to fight them in the future. That's going to happen anyway, whatever happens, because otherwise they wouldn't be sent back from the future. So it has to happen, whatever. And because that's what this premise of the film is. Because you're like, well, how has this all happened? How has it happened if they destroyed everything? And they kind of explain it that no matter what you do, Judgment Day is going to happen. All you've done is delayed it.
Yeah, and I completely get that, because he was hesitant about doing it because of these viruses, and he says that all of the missile silos, they've lost control of that. And it's like the Secretary of Defense who puts pressure on Robert Brewster to press that button, but ultimately pressing that button is the destruction of the world and humanity, or most of it, and which is this doesn't make sense. If it was a case of he was the only one who was trying to stop it, and he could rationalise that this was going to happen, then it makes sense. But I don't know. But anyway, she goes on.
It didn't.
And she does. You do see the kind of very first, I suppose, for our modern time, the Terminators, which when you compare her kind of figure in more than one way, you get the T-12 Terminators, which look absolutely terrible and really impractical, but they were actual robots that they built on the set, and Stan Winston had a lot to do with that, which I think credit to him.
I liked them a lot.
Why is that?
Honest. I don't know. It just made you think of this is what the army probably would come up with. And they are a miniature of the big
hunter killers, aren't they? I think
big fucking tank things, because the hunter killers are the flying things.
Oh, are they?
Aren't they? And you see those later, but they're like a homage, aren't they, to the big tanks that are rolling around shooting people. So I kind of liked it as a callback, and the fact that this is probably the crazy sort of shit that they would make.
I know. I was expecting Newton Crosby, played by Steve Guttenberg, to come around the corner and say this is a prototype of Johnny Five. This is the way they look. But no, you're right though. I mean, on a serious note, yeah, you're right, Neil. I really did like the homage to the big hunter killers, and I think with the technology in 2003, that's one of the believable things that this film did. You believe actually. Yes, it was kind of like it was almost like a tank, wasn't it, on tank tracks and everything. So it's like it could have been could have gone across difficult terrain. Yeah, and with the eyes and stuff, it was fairly believable at the time that the army could have designed that. I liked that. That was good.
Yeah, definitely. I fair play. I think that's a good idea. And you're right about what you say with regards to Kate Brewster being shot. When she does take the form and Arnie does shoot her, then she turns around and she shoots the general, shoots her dad. So, maybe it is a case of they did that intentionally at the graveyard, and they can then turn around and say, yeah, she did learn from her own mistakes, which is possibly smells of BS, but
massive.
It is a way of getting out of it. So from this, obviously, as the general is dying, he tells them that they go to Camp Crystal Lake. No, they don't. They go to Crystal Peak.
They go up to see Jason because he's the only one that can stop her.
That would be awesome. How good that you got Freddy versus Jason, then you've got the TX versus Jason. That would be friggin' awesome.
Who would win?
I don't know. I'd love to see it. I honestly would. It'll be so good that she just runs around a corner and he's standing in the middle of the corridor with a massive machete in his mask. That would be so good. What a twist.
What did you think of the fight between Arnie and the TX through the toilets and all that lot?
CGI too much. It was
wasn't it?
Crazy, honestly. I think that's where they lose out here, when you've got someone who's so small, who possibly in real life, due to size, that he can't really throw around in such a confined space. I think they lost it. And I think it was a shame. It was a struggle with the last one with is it Robert Patrick?
Yeah.
It's a struggle with them two, because obviously he's quite stealth-like. But no, it just, when they were smashing each other through toilets, it was entertaining to watch, but it was just too much CGI, and it really suffered from that. I don't know if you agree.
And there was too many elements of trying to be funny.
What, with the toilet and everything?
Well, there's the smacking her with the urinal, and then as she walks around, she looks in her reflection, as in, why would you be checking yourself out? And then she grabs him by the balls and then throws him through walls, and he looks sort of down at his groin to sort of say, oh, that feels funny. It's just, it's crap.
James, can you mince your words and like Neil?
No, he said it just as good.
But what I did like was the kind of the twist, in a way that it was not for the audience but for these guys, of when he says you need to go to Crystal Peak, and when he says, well, is that where the main computer server is, he doesn't answer them, and that's when they decide to go, and which does obviously lead to the fight, which, as we've already said, is just terrible. I did like the fact that she did kick the skull kind of off Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then I would like to have left like that. It was obvious after that when she used that kind of USB stick that she was trying to reprogram him. That took me back out again because it was too predictable, which led to a terrible moment for me. Whether it was a heartfelt moment for you guys, I honestly don't know. But you've got the mini hunter killer. That was another scene when that flew towards them and with the worst, most ineffective rockets firing them down the corridor. And it may as well have gone pew, pew. It was just terrible. And then she picks up that machine gun and shoots it. And then he looks at her as if like, oh my God, you're so fit.
Sorry, this podcast peaks at you going, meow, meow.
But he looks at her. If you watch this, the way he looks at her when she shoots at Hunter Killer, it's almost as if like, I fucking love you. And then he says, you remind me of my mum. You think,
no.
But look at you should watch this. Good. The look on his face, and they make eye contact. It's almost as if I love you. Then you remind me of my mum.
I can't believe I just said that line as you said, and I remind you of your mum. But that's weird. Okay.
But it's terrible, terrible, terrible. It really, really is. But I do like the bit when they do escape and they're being chased by the TX, and they use this massive ring thing. I've got no idea what it is, as a magnet. And I think the special effects are pretty good. I don't know what you guys think.
No, I love that bit. I thought that's really, really good.
I mean, what was that ring? I got no idea what it was. A flux capacitor or arc reactor? Yeah. What was it?
Flux capacitor.
I have no idea, to be honest. There was one, I don't know if it was around then, but there was that massive magnetic thing that they did years ago, didn't they? They switched on and there was complaints about what it would do to the planet and all this sort of shit. So maybe it was a homage to that type of device. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's quite clever. Obviously her skin all sort of melts off and she's stuck to it, isn't she? But funnily enough, she can, make a little drill and she's able to get out of it again.
I know, it's convenient. It is very convenient. And our two heroes do escape. And they get to the plane, and you think that she's dying, and you think that all hope is lost, as the great Mariah Carey did say once upon a time. And they get to a plane, and Arnie's there. But this isn't Arnold Schwarzenegger who wants to kill John Connor. And then he appeals to the Terminator's humanity.
Oh, I know. This is the worst scene in the film.
Oh, God, I know. You know what? I would have rather the Terminator's head been in one of those T1s. He stuck himself on that. You know what I mean? That would have made more sense to me.
See, I was crying at this bit. I thought this was really emotional and touching.
Oh, really?
I've just got an image of the fucking Direct Line advert with Arnie's head now.
Yeah, that's it. Should have been. Oh, that would have been brilliant. That would have been brilliant.
You need to renew your car insurance.
Yeah. Oh, no. It's been messed up.
It's terrible, isn't it? He's walking towards John Connor like he shit himself. And John Connor saying, like, remember me, you're my dad, and all that. Oh, it's awful, isn't it? Decision making is terrible because there is no excitement, there is no tension, and it's just a real shame. But they do escape, and they do go to Camp Crystal Lake, where they think that they're going to destroy the computer. I'm just hoping. I really am hoping. But it's a nice padded out flight, which lasts about a minute on the screen time of watching, which is really ineffective because we don't need to see it at all. But they do virtually show you the whole flight. May as well have snacks and films. Really, really good. But when they do get to there, they're making their way into what they do believe is the mainframe computer to destroy Skynet. That's what they think, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the Terminatrix does turn up. And there's not much tension, but there is a fight with Arnold Schwarzenegger and a foreshadow of previous explosions when he took that chip out of his body. He sacrifices himself in humanity. He makes that human decision to blow himself up so others can live, and that's what he does. Then the other two find out that this bunker is about 100 years old. There's no food, no pornography, there's no television, there's nothing whatsoever. And they're stuck there, and they realise that they're there to live rather than destroy it. I quite like that twist, that they were stuck there and humanity is over. I don't know what you guys thought, but I thought it was a good twist.
I think so, because like they said, you know, the virus, it's in the internet, because obviously back when the original two were made, the internet wasn't a big thing at all, really, was it?
No,
So,
people bought porno magazines.
exactly.
So,
You went in and you looked shifty and had to when they put it in a weird bag and stuff, also, I'm told. And
you bought about 5 packets of crisps and polos and then one porno.
and a Mayfair. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, not the cigarettes, please. I'll have the wank mag. But yeah, so it was. I like the fact that they've obviously hooked onto the fact that, you know, Skynet was everywhere. There was no stopping it. So it was all just about trying to save his daughter's life and stuff like that. So I thought it was quite good, and it was nice that rather than there being just a big button that went off, you know.
Yeah. What did you think, James? Did you think it was good, or do you think it was shit?
See, I came out of the cinema, I get really annoyed at that ending after the ending at Terminator 2. Looking back, I don't know how I feel. It's almost like apathy, really. Probably because I know what happens after. I mean, had there been a sequel to this, and there kind of is, isn't it, in Salvation, it would have been really interesting. But I don't really know how I feel. I give the film credit in terms of it was trying to do something different to the other two and have a very much more open-ended ending, you know. So
yeah,
it's a braver finish. I'll give the film credit that, and it's a much more adult finish that you wouldn't see in a bloody 12 film. Really, is it? Because it's normally that happy ending, la la la.
Yeah, I like the idea that humanity is destroyed.
Yeah.
I think it's really good. I wish this would have been done in the second one, to be honest.
Well, no, don't mess with the second one. No.
I think it would have been good to have an alternative ending of
being old.
Well, there is that alternative ending in 2, isn't it, where you see John Connor older. He's like a senator, isn't he? And she's pushing. Interestingly, though, there is that deleted scene here where you see Arnold Schwarzenegger, not the Terminator, as who is he? Have you seen that one? Have you seen the alternate? No, you haven't seen the deleted scene. No. He's basically he's a Marine and he's like a Marine working out and stuff, and that's why they base it all on Arnold, the Terminator.
Oh dear God.
Yeah. They did the right thing, and they kept it out of the they completely kept it out of the film. But there is a scene where he goes, "Hi," in this really bad American accent. "I'm so and so," yada yada yada.
Well, from this film?
Yeah. I'm not even lying to you. I'm not even lying. You might think I'm taking the piss.
Well, he was a Marine doing what?
He was a Marine. He was a Marine
flexing.
doing what? No. It's not really flexing. Wait there, guys. Wait there. I will show you. Film. I don't know if you can put this on loud on the podcast. Here you go.
Cyber Research Systems present a preview of our upcoming product line. Say hello to the soldier of tomorrow, the T1 Battlefield Robot, a fully autonomous ground defensive system.
You do know the patents were obtained from a private vendor, Cyberdyne? Cyberdyne?
It gets so bad. Let me know when you watch someone running on the street.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Here we go.
Place on the front lines.
Hi! I'm Chief Master Sergeant William.
Oh my God. Oh my dear God. This is the worst thing.
That's so bad. It's so bad, isn't it? It's so bad.
Yeah, right.
Mate,
no, it's more of him.
This film would have got 4 out of 5 had they left that in.
This is so Starship Troopers, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Oh my Lord.
I'm sorry, I felt you had to watch that, guys. I do apologise.
Oh, thank you, James, for bringing that into my life.
You're welcome.
Amazing.
You can see why they cut that out. Fair play to him, but yeah.
I mean, kudos for getting Arnie to actually agree to do that anyway with that dubbed over voice.
Clearly,
Yeah,
he'd do anything for £29 million.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But that
is unreal. That is atrocious.
Brilliant. That voice will be added again and again.
Jesus.
Anyway, our two heroes are left in the bunker as the world destroys each other, as the nuclear missiles are launched and the whole globe is destroyed and the resistance carries on. And really, that's where the film ends. And I've not seen the next lot of films, so I'm interested to see where this goes. But for me, I will give this a 3 out of 5. And I think any lower than that's been a bit harsh, really, been a bit snobby. Best bits, I like the technology for the new TX. I thought it was pretty good. I thought Arnie kind of held himself pretty well. Worst bits were some of the decisions made with regards to the entry for Arnie, the glasses, the comedy, talk to the hand, things like that. And decision about the Skynet didn't make sense. It was if they had these good ideas and wanted to put them in the film, but they didn't think about them of how they would fit in there with the context of the continuity, and I think that's where it let it all down. But it's a film I'd still recommend to people, because even though I've watched it far too many times in the last few weeks, I still have fun watching it, regardless of how many times. So, and that's not sitting on the fence.
No, I think you've given it a fair review there, Stu, to be honest.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, James? Go on.
I cannot give it a 3 out of 5 because that's too much for me for this film. But I can't give it a 2.5 because it's slightly better than average. So I'm giving it 2.75. I've never done that before. Because it's better. It's better than like half mark, but I can't quite give it a 3 because that means it's good. That makes any sense. So yeah. Like Stu though, it's watchable. I probably watch it once every 3-4 years when I watch all the Terminators up to Salvation, then I stop, and I will in the future. But I really enjoy it. It has some really good parts. It's kind of, but when watching it, kind of like the same feeling as Alien 3 is it's okay. They could have done much better, and it's more of a story of opportunity missed and what they haven't done rather than what they've done. And that's what leaves me with a bad taste in my mouth at the end of the film. So there we go.
Yeah. I'm going to be quite snobby, and I have to give it a 2. Reasons being, I love the first two and I love the premise of the Terminator. This doesn't really explain why the future still happens after everything is destroyed in the second one. The script writing in relation to try and make it funny and keeping it at 12 ruins it, because how can it be a film about Terminators who go around murdering people be portrayed properly like it has been previously if it's for children? So it's just ruined it in that aspect. And the acting's fucking awful in lots of different ways. That scene when Arnie and Nick Stoll are, oh, you're my dad, and it's just so unbelievable that it makes me want to rip my dick off. It's fucking awful. It's just. So yeah, no, would I recommend it? Of course I would, because it's a Terminator film and it's worth watching just to see how shit it is. If it was on telly, would I stop and watch it? Probably, if I was pissed or having some sort of mental health episode. But yeah, it's ruined it really. It's yet another Hollywood. Let's use this and try and make as much money as we can out of it. How much did this actually make, Stu? Do you know?
This, let me have a look. This made, I will tell you right now. Here we go. Opening weekend was 44 million. Total gross worldwide back then is 433 million.
So it's still a success.
Yeah,
considering how much it cost.
Doubled its budgets. So
yeah, but I think that goes off the name of what came before it. If you put this film out as it was, and there was nothing before it, and people didn't know what it was, this would have made a loss. people have only gone to see this in the cinemas because of the fact of how good the first two were. And I guarantee you about 75-80% of the audience came out going, well, that was shit compared to the other two.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. Because if you compare the three films together, this doesn't come anywhere near.
I saw it at the cinema.
Absolutely anywhere near.
Exactly the same.
So,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
But when you look at Terminator Salvation for that argument, that was budget. It was estimated 200 million, and that was 370 million, so a little bit less. So that's still got a very good turnout.
You say that, but I think that was because of the premise of it. Because I mean, that promised all those scenes where you thought the coolest scenes in Terminator 1, 2, and 3, where the future war. That's what we were promised in Terminator Salvation, as well as Christian Bale going batshit crazy at the start at one point in the film, which we'll get into. But yeah.
So the thing is, it was a different premise. It was set in the future. You didn't have Arnie. It wasn't just we've shoehorned an ever-aging Arnie into a film. To pull on people's heartstrings and to say, "Oh, look how fucking awesome it is." It shows it. It's at the beginning of the end of the world. So there's different types of Terminators. It's very much a nerd film. Salvation.
I'm confident Neil and I think Neil and I will definitely rate that film higher than this one. It'd be interesting to see what you think, Stu. I'll be surprised if it's a lot worse than how you feel about T3. I reckon it would either be around the same or slightly better.
Well, I'm worried that McGee directed it, so
he did Charlie's Angels. That was really good.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely terrible. So
I think Stu's gonna hate it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But I mean, especially as Neil, you scored this one a 2 of how much lower you can go. Bear in mind, you scored Shoot 'em Up at a 0 of in between Terminator 3 and Shoot 'em Up of where this will score.
I can guarantee you now that Salvation will get more than this film.
Wow. So, oh, really?
Yeah, Salvation is a million times better than this film because they've tried something different. It does work in a lot of ways. Yes, it has its issues. Don't get me wrong, it's not perfect, but it's not. Terminator 3 is Terminator 2, but done badly.
The pound shot version, then.
It is.
Yeah.
It's let's get as many people as we can watch it. Let's put a female in it. Not saying that that's bad, but it's to have yet another demographic involved in it. That it's not, someone that's running away. It's someone that's actually being, aggressive and stuff like that. And it's good to have that. But basically, it's exactly the same film, just with a slightly different ending. The fact that you're fucked rather than you saved it, and two Terminators fighting each other, and one's trying to save some people. The first three films, they've got exactly the same story. They just changed the Terminators. That's it. That is all the difference is in the first three films. Apart from the first one does it fucking brilliantly because it's brand new, never done before. Like you pointed out, done on a shoestring budget, and one of the best films you're probably ever likely to see if you're into sci-fi horror. The second one carries it on and does an absolutely brilliant job. And you could argue you could have taken Arnie out of that film and put someone else in, and it would have equally been as good. Because it didn't need Arnie in that film to make it good, but he works really well in it. This one,
Terminator 1, the first one?
No, the second one. You didn't need Arnie in the second one at all, but it was good that he was in it. It carries on the flow. This one, there was no reason for Arnie to be in it other than the fact that he's in the future killing John Connor because of his feelings around it. It just they're the same story. It just frustrates me. It's like Aliens, isn't it? Alien, fantastic. One alien kills everybody, manages to kill it. Second alien, fucking hundreds of aliens, manage to overthrow it, and then you get back to the third one. And it's like, oh, there's one alien again on a remote place, and the army are coming to get the alien. And then the fourth one, you're cloning fucking aliens.
Oh God, I know.
But
See,
you know
I
what I
tapped
mean?
out then. That was too much for me. I stopped.
But that's the point. That's the point. This film for me was I tap out. You've done too much. You did it perfectly in Terminator 2. You don't need to touch it. If you're going to touch
I think
it,
you're right.
do Salvation.
The world wasn't asking for a Terminator 3. However, in hindsight, what would have been interesting almost is a prequel to Terminator 1 as to how Carl Reese got into the time machine and came back. That would have been, I think, a much better premise for a third film. It's like a prequel rather than anything else, for me anyway.
Yeah, but obviously, like we said,
And we kind of got that with Salvation, in a way.
You did, but they wanted to make as much money as they could, and they did make their money. Don't get me wrong, they've made their money on this, but from a poor product.
They have, and when you look at it, I mean, the fourth one, and then you look at the fifth and sixth one, they're so poor that you could make an argument at the end of it, once we've reviewed all the Terminators, that have they damaged the franchise beyond repair for the audience being absolutely sick? Kind of like, have they done a Game of Thrones season 8 where the audience is now fatigued and doesn't want any more Terminator because they're fed up of having their expectations not met by a long way?
Let's put it this way. If a new Terminator film came out tomorrow, I would not rush to the cinema to watch it.
No.
I would not spend my hard-earned money going to the cinema.
No. I'd rent it for about £5 on Amazon at home with a beer.
I'd probably wait until it was on Sky for nothing.
Oh, look at that. That's even worse than, yeah.
I'm not interested in paying for something that they've already fucked. So
I'd wait until they showed it on BBC One on Christmas Day.
In 2055.
That's just how it would be. I think BBC are going to premiere For Your Eyes Only this Christmas. I'm pretty sure.
Oh wow! I've been waiting years to see that.
Oh my god!
Yeah, but they've got Raiders of the Lost Ark on Boxing Day, so.
Don't forget Zulu. No one's seen Zulu.
No. But let's be honest. All three of those films are better than this one.
Oh, dearie me.
Anyway, sorry, I had a rant, but
no, it was good. I was really enjoying it. I was enjoying it.
This is the kind of the format. This is where you do rant. This is what it's all about. So, but yeah, so that's Terminator 3, and I was quite surprised that we were all kind of seeing it from the same hymn sheet, which I kind of didn't think we would be, to be honest, to so much of a degree that I thought, being diehard fans like you guys are, that you'd either kind of have faith and nostalgia might see you through some of the shite bits in there. But it's good that we all kind of came in the same direction. But we have got Terminator Salvation coming up when we're all available. In the meantime, as we usually what we'll do is we'll just throw some random film in there. Before it was RIPD, which was kind of last minute, which really got thrown under the bus because that is a god-awful, terrible...
I like that film. I like that film.
Please don't.
Absolutely terrible. So we'll see who is available next. We will be doing Terminator Salvation, or we will be doing some other wonderful film, no doubt. In the meantime, check out YouTube channel. People just subscribe. We're doing so well on there. Honestly, for some reason, it's bizarre. When you look at the viewing figures of what we got, the Rush Hour 2, I think we've had 1.8 thousand people listen to that podcast just on YouTube alone, where the review for Rush Hour 1 we did, posted on YouTube, got something like 38 listens, which is really bizarre. It just doesn't make sense. And our general demographic at the moment on YouTube, we're really popular in Asia and the Asian countries. Yeah, which is everyone over in Asia. Hello, I hope you guys are all well. And this month, again, we've broken records on downloads. We've had nearly 28,500 downloads this month for our podcast alone. So
who listens to half a podcast?
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Who throws a cupcake? But thanks to everyone who's done that. It's honestly mind-blowing. And we always talk about it, don't we, guys, that we're just blown away that there's so many people out there who find us entertaining. They probably mock us, to be honest, but I'm happy with that. I've had that all my life.
Have you listened to this bunch of wank?
Exactly. These guys are complete turds. Listen to this. But if it works for you, then obviously we're doing something right. So go onto iTunes now. As you're on your way to work, if you're not driving, obviously on public transport, give us 5 stars and a comment. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Film Reelcast. We're available on all good platforms. We'll be back next week with another crazy film, or it will be Terminator not even called Terminator 4, is it? Terminator Salvation. But we're going to play you out, guys, with Arnold Schwarzenegger's amazing voice and the clip that I believe should have been in this film.
God's
And
sake.
thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. Cheers, guys. I will see you later.
Take care.
Hi, I'm Chief Master Sergeant William Candy. I was honored to be selected by CRS in the ongoing effort to save American lives.